Great things don't happen all at once. Big dreams take time. And when it comes to saving for college, it's those small steps that make a difference. I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 5-9 college savings plan, is designed to be taken step by step. You can start with any amount, contributions are tax deductible, and earnings grow tax-free. So why wait? Discover the smart, easy way to save for college at futurescholar.com.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblut and Chris Bergen. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on sportstalksc.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil and Chris with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. We are live on this Memorial Day night for 2024. Phil Kornblut, Chris Bergen, Josh Cohen. Let me first of all say that Memorial Day is it's sort of a mixed bag day in that there's a lot of heavy emotions as we remember those who made the supreme sacrifice as military members, men and women, over all these years. So we remember them, of course, and think about them and take a moment to reflect. Then again, it's also a day of cookouts and family gatherings and baseball and fun and the beach and the lake and boating and everything else. So it's sort of a mixed bag for this particular day, but we don't forget what the day stands for first and foremost. But we are very glad to have you with us. We are live, as we are every Memorial Day, because we believe from a sports standpoint on Sports Talk, this is a big day, Chris Bergen. This just isn't some throwaway day, and we're here every Memorial Day because it's the day that the NCAA baseball tournament field is announced, and it was announced today at noon. We did get 4 teams from our state in. Should there have been a fifth, or should there have been an exchange at one of the 4 for sure, and that has created a bit of controversy nationally with Coastal Carolina getting in, the College of Charleston not getting in, of course, South Carolina an at-large bid, Clemson an at-large bid, and Wofford the automatic bid by winning the Southern Conference Tournament Championship. We'll go over the field in just a moment. We have confirmation that we'll hear from Mark Kingston at South Carolina at 6:35, and then Coach J.J. Edwards from Wofford at 6:50, and then 7:05, Coach Eric Bakich from Clemson, and we are efforting to get Coach Gary Gilmore of Coastal Carolina with us as well. Have not been able to confirm him just yet, so working on that. If we don't get him tonight, certainly we'll get him tomorrow night. Just to bring you, if you've been out grilling or boating or playing golf today, whatever the case may be, just to fill you in on what has happened with the state teams today and what the setup is. Clemson is a regional host as the number 6 national seed. So back-to-back years, Eric Bakich has gotten the Tigers in as a regional host. So the Tigers will have High Point as their opponent 7 o'clock on Friday night. Spicing things up, Vanderbilt is coming back to Clemson as the number 2 seed, and throwing a little more spice on it, Coastal Carolina will be the number 3 seed. Vandy and Coastal will play at noon on Friday. The winner of that regional will face the winner of the Oklahoma State regional in the Super. In South Carolina, a number 2 seed, and the Gamecocks are going to Raleigh as a number 2 seed in the NC State regional. They will face James Madison of the Sun Belt, 2 o'clock on Friday. The winner, by the way, NC State in that regional will face Bryant, and the winner of that regional will face the winner from the Georgia regional in the Super Regionals. As for Wofford, the Terriers won their way in by winning the Southern Conference Tournament Championship in Greenville yesterday with a pair of wins over Sanford, so they did it the hard way. They will face SEC Tournament runner-up LSU Friday
Ouch.
at noon. Yeah, really. Top seed North Carolina will meet Long Island on Friday night, and the winner of that regional will meet the winner of the Arizona regional in the Super Regional. There you go. What do you think?
I'm really disappointed for the College of Charleston. I'm just heartbroken for Chad Holbrook and his team. I mean, they deserve to be in the tournaments, but I've said this 1,000 times, and I'll say it again. The NCAA basketball, men's and women's, the NCAA baseball, the NCAA softball is set up for the Power 5 leagues. It just is. And you look at 11 SEC teams getting in and one that was barely over 500 in the Florida Gators. I don't have a problem with Coastal going. I have a bigger problem with Florida being in the tournament. Don't give me they had the number one strength of schedule when they didn't beat enough teams. There ought to be some value. There ought to be a lot more value, I think. And this is not just this committee. It's all committees. There ought to be a lot more value placed on winning games, not just playing good teams. And Florida, in my opinion, did not win enough to get in. But they get buoyed by playing in the best league in the country, and they get into the tournament. And the College of Charleston doesn't get all those opportunities, so they're viewed as a team that's not quite as good, despite the fact they won 41 games, won their league, was the hottest team, quite frankly, in the country going into the final weekend of the season, just could not win their tournament. Much like last year, here we sit, and the College of Charleston sitting on the outside looking in. They should be in. But again, it's unfortunate because, and I don't want to ever hear anybody that's a fan of a Power 5 league complain that their team didn't get in, because the tournament is set up to get all those teams in. And it's proof positive. It was proof positive in the softball tournament. All 13 SEC teams got in. Mm-hmm. And now you get 11 in baseball. Heck, why not invite Ole Miss too? Just have all 12 teams that made the conference tournament get them in.
Don't think Greg Sankey wasn't pushing for it. I mean, this is his dream. This is his dream. This is why he pushed so hard for expansion of the college football playoffs. Why? Not because it's good for college football. It's good for the SEC. And if it's good for the SEC, in his mind, it's good for the world. And they want to get more SEC teams in. You're exactly yeah. It's hard to look at College of Charleston and say they're not one of the best 64.
Exactly.
They went 25 and 23 and 5, I think, over their last
down the stretch
over the last half of the season. 41 wins. I'm sure the committee looked at this figure and said this is a big negative, and that figure is they played 25 games against quad 4 teams. They went 21 and 4.
I think it was 2-0 in the 200s.
Yeah,
so, I understand.
But then again, East Carolina, which is a national seed and a host, they played well over 20 games against Q4 teams, and they won those games. As did Charleston. Charleston went 21 and 4 against those teams. So I don't know. I don't know what. Who knows? Year to year, you just don't know. I know Matt Hogue, the Coastal Carolina AD and the chairman of the committee, catching a great deal of flack over this because his team got in. Charleston did not get in. Across the country, I'm sure the pundits are taking their shots. Well, as a matter of fact, let's listen. Here's some comments right now, Chris, before we do anything else. Chad Holbrook spoke to a group of media after the disappointing news that they were not getting in. Josh Cohen put this together for us. Here is some of what Chad Holbrook had to say to the media in Charleston after getting the news.
I know I should take the high road a little bit more than probably I'm taking it right now, but I'll fall on the sword for my players. And they deserve better.
This is hard, isn't it, Coach?
We work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And have someone in a room that hadn't seen us play to tell us we're not good enough is asinine to me. And again, I was a coach that got fired for going 13 and 17. I know what a mediocre regular season is that many teams that got in had. And we had a phenomenal regular season, and it was ignored. And, there are teams that got in today that probably sent their players home because they knew they didn't probably deserve to be in. And our kids were denied a chance to keep playing. And 28 and 5 their last 33, won the regular season. Regular season doesn't matter? Oh, he said it did matter. Now it doesn't matter when it comes to College of Charleston? I'm at a loss.
Was there a point during the show that you knew you guys weren't getting in, or were you holding out hope throughout the whole show?
All right, there you go. Whoa.
Tough listen.
Tough words.
He brings up a fabulous point. His last year at South Carolina, he went 35-25, which was a considerably better record than what Florida has, and went 13-17 to the SEC, just like Florida. And they didn't get into the NCAA tournament that year, and Chad Holbrook was out of a job right after that.
Yep, he exactly was, and that burns deep. I got to tell Josh something real quick over the air. I just got a text from Coach Gilmore. He's good to go right now if you want to give him a quick call. He said this time would work well for him. So we'll get Gilly on and get his thoughts about going to Clemson. How about that? He's finally going to get his shot. I don't know if he'll face the Tigers now. Not sure if he's going to face the Tigers because they got rained out twice against them.
Correct.
But he might get his chance this time up at Doug Kingsmore.
I'm just grateful, Phil, because when the regions were starting to be filled out, I kept thinking, oh, gosh, they're going to send South Carolina to college and Coastal all to Clemson, much like Coach Gilmore had speculated a couple of weeks ago, and our state would get screwed because only one team would be able to advance. So I'm at least glad our state's got a chance to get out of a couple of regionals.
Yeah. While we get Coach Gilmore on the phone, I want to start going over the bracket, and then we'll pause and get him. But Tennessee, here are your 16 national seeds in order, 1 through 16. Tennessee, Kentucky, Texas A&M, North Carolina, Arkansas, Clemson, Georgia, Florida, Oklahoma, and NC State. Stop right there. I'm sorry, Florida State, number 8. Yeah. I'll get back to this just a moment because we got Gilly on the phone, so I don't want to delay. I want to have as much time as possible with him, and then we'll have Coach Kingston, then we'll have Coach Edwards, and then we'll have Coach Bakich. So we got them all lined up like planes coming in for a landing at Hartsfield in Atlanta. So we take the first big 787 of the night, and he is Gary Gilmore from Coastal Carolina. And thank you for joining us, and congratulations. How you feeling?
Oh, very, very blessed and very fortunate. No doubt. It just we the way we played in the league or whatever was disappointing at times. I mean, we played a incredibly hard schedule, and committee's eyes.
You broke up there on us for just a moment there. You were talking about your tough schedule. Go back on that again, please.
Yeah, I was just saying that, we were very fortunate that, our tough schedule played to our advantage in the eyes of the committee with, our out-of-conference schedule was the third toughest in the country, and our out-of-conference RPI was sixth. So, that kind of counteracted a very mediocre conference outing.
What were you thinking as the show was playing out before they got to your name? Were you confident or did you have doubt?
I had huge doubt. There's a lot of, as you know, Phil, having been in this game for so long and everything, it's there's a lot of politics played with, the last few that get in or don't get in. And I say politics on just, each person that's on the committee, they have a different threshold for what is important and what is good. So, you're very fortunate if, you're a bubble team like we were and that you actually get in. Because, after, during Saturday's games, I'm sitting there, I quit watching it about 12 o'clock on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even check anymore. I didn't check a score. I didn't listen to nobody, whatever, because, it was like, man, the dominoes have got to fall almost exactly perfectly, or it isn't going to matter. We're going to have no shot.
Mm.
And in all honesty, almost every domino that had to fall for Coastal to stay on the board, almost every one of them happened. And, we're very, very fortunate to get in, and, hopefully we can, I'm hoping we can, regardless of what happens, I just hope we can play like I know we can play. We have, there was a time during the year when, heck, we played exceptionally well, pitched, hit, did everything. we've gone through our struggles and our inconsistencies, for about 2 months. We've been good, we've been bad, and we've been everywhere in between.
This is true. This is true. And you're going to get a chance with a reprieve here, I would say, to show what you can do. Before we look ahead, though, how do you feel for Chad Holbrook with what happened with the College of Charleston? I mean, do coaches, especially in-state, do you kind of look at one another and have feelings for one another in a situation like this? Because he was upset, and I'm sure that people looked at the fact that Matt Hogue's the chairman of the committee, and you got in, and he got left out with his good-looking record and his very strong second half of the regular season. I mean, they were 23-5 over the last 28 games. How do you feel for him or towards them?
Oh, I mean, Chad is a good friend, and obviously, number one, I don't have anything to do with any of that stuff. I was hoping Coastal Carolina got in. I'd be honest with you, I didn't see how they couldn't get in, but I honestly don't think that necessarily that Coastal ate up their spot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can go through that thing, and there's some Power Fives that got in that they were 15 points below us in the RPI,
mm-hmm.
if not more. So I mean, I don't. It's easy to point the fingers at us, but and I get that and understand that. But I completely understand his frustration with the whole thing, and having been in the Big South for a good portion of my career, it just people don't respect you the way they ought to respect you in a lot of ways, and not that the Colonial is a bad conference by any means, but it just you're looked at in a different manner, to be very honest with you. When I think their league was either 9th or 10th or something like that, and heck, we played Wilmington, and Wilmington had a good club, and they really played well at the end too. So I mean, I totally sympathize with him. Again, it's easy to throw Matt Hogue under the bus, but I mean, if I understand how all that works, at least the actual voting, he isn't even in the room when they do the voting when we're concerned. So, I don't know that that he was able to be the deciding factor. I have no idea. He might have been, might have not been. I honestly don't know. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's it doesn't help him in this whole situation. I mean, after all the names were called, I'm like, who the hell got left out that I know I felt for sure was in? And it was like one of our coaches said, Coach Charleston didn't get in. I'll be honest, I couldn't believe it, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Gary Gilmore, head baseball coach at Coastal Carolina University, with us here tonight on Sports Talk. Chanticleer is back in the NCAA tournament. They'll be participant in the Clemson Regional and get Vanderbilt in the opening round on Friday. Coach, we'll get to Vandy in a moment, but dovetailing off your comments about teams that should have gotten in, and I agree with you, I think the college deserved to get in. Florida is one of those Power 5 teams that I think got a pass and got in, but the subject of the discussion about possibly expanding the tournament was the last thing the ESPN guys were chatting about on the selection show. Now that you're getting out of baseball and maybe could look back at the field, do you see a point if, let's say, they expanded by 10 teams, would that help the mid-majors, or would that just be more Power 5 teams that would get in if they expanded the tournament?
I mean, being honest with you, I don't know how to feel about it. If I'm a bubble team, I want it. If I'm not, I don't want it. I honestly, I don't know how you do it and actually, don't lengthen the tournament or force more games. I mean, back when I first got in, we only had 48 teams and we had 6-team regionals, which were a nightmare. Trying to figure out how to play the numbers of games you had to play, and weather this time of year with the storms and everything. It just, I honestly don't know where they go, to be very honest with you. My wife looked at me the other day and she's listened to me talk about the portal and NIL and all this mess. She came over and gave me a big hug. She goes, I know you're gonna miss it, but I don't know a whole lot about it, but I think you're getting out at the right time. Oh man, it is so much. There are so many things that need to be fixed in a lot of ways, and I'm not quite sure exactly how they do them. I mean, there's a lot of deserving teams out there. I mean, baseball is such a crazy game too that you can back when we were fortunate enough to win, you can have a team that just starts playing really good, and all of a sudden, there are teams that are more talented, one through whatever, but you outplay them because you only put 9 on the field, and the portal's changing that and NIL and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's you look around and I mean, holy cow, man! Some of these teams are, they're like AA caliber ball clubs, and you used to not see, I mean, you'd see some talent, but I mean, you wouldn't see the physicality and the 22 to 24-year-olds. I mean, the game, guys, has changed from light years in the last 5 years.
Sure.
I mean, I think there's been more change in the last 5 years than in the last 50 years, and what's going on, and between COVID and the portal and NIL has completely changed the landscape of all the sports, but definitely it's changed baseball.
Coach, last couple of minutes with you. Let's look ahead to Friday. It's hard to believe with your long career and resume that you guys have in the Coastal Baseball program, you've never faced Vanderbilt. So I'm fascinated your thoughts about that program, what you're getting into on Friday, and your relationship with Tim Corbett.
Oh, man, Corb's not been buddies for a long, long time, and heck, man, I have incredible respect for him and for all these coaches that are in our regional, and Corb's and I go back to when we were back in our early days when we were young fellas, and he was at PC and I was at Aiken, and we'd get after each other, and then he went to Clemson, and heck, on to Vandy, and changed a lot of the face of college baseball by the things he did and innovated. How you did a lot of things at Vandy that changed the landscape of college baseball. I have incredible respect for him, and I just can't say enough great things about his team and what he's done in the past, this team as well, and I look forward to competing against him. And we used to get after each other when it was PC and Aiken, so I don't expect it to be any different. We're just in two different places right now.
Well, this Vandy team, they got hot second half of the season and finished 38-21, got to the semis of the SEC tournament, and of course they're known for their hard throwing arms. I imagine you're going to see one of those hard throwing arms when you face those guys on Friday.
Yeah, I'm hoping we see like 5 or 6 of them. That means we're doing pretty good. But yeah, absolutely no. I mean, it's this time of year, guys. It doesn't matter which one of these places you get sent. I mean, you're gonna, everybody's got a dude. They just happen to have a bunch of them. And no different than pretty much every SEC team. They have the ability to attract them and develop them, and they've done great things. So, I don't expect any soft tossing guys out there on any of these teams that we face.
Well, we'll hear more from you later in the week at the press conference there. I'm glad we got at least another week to kick you around.
Absolutely.
So, good luck. Thank you for being with us as always, and we'll talk to you later this week. Appreciate you, sir.
Thanks, Coach. See you up there.
Yeah, you guys are welcome. By the way, I got like 25 texts from my former players told me to get my rear end off the beach and get out of retirement and get back to work. So that was kind of fun. So
I bet.
Hopefully another week will make it good, and we can like I said, I just hope we play good and play as well as we can, and whatever happens. But I do appreciate you guys, and hopefully I'll talk to you later in the week.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Coach
Thanks,
Gary
Coach.
Gilmore. Batting leadoff for us tonight here on Sports Talk. Yeah, you look at the pitching for Vandy. Bryce Cunningham, 94 strikeouts in 79 innings. Carter Holton, 96 strikeouts in 68 innings. Those are the top two dogs for I imagine they'll see one of those two in that game because, Vandy can't afford to fool around, and neither can Coastal. All right, after the break, Mark Kingston, Gamecocks, Up next, Sports Talk Memorial Day night, live. Back in a moment. All right, we continue live on this Memorial Day night on Sports Talk. It's also the day that we learn the field for the NCAA baseball tournament. South Carolina got its news about that second part of the production, I believe it was. And, boy, they were ecstatic about hearing they're going to go to Raleigh, North Carolina as a number 2 seed in the NC State Regional. We welcome in USC baseball coach Mark Kingston, live on Sports Talk to talk about what's ahead for his team. And first of all, congratulations to you, another regional trip for your program. How do you feel about this one?
We feel good. You know, it was a heck of a season, had a lot of ups, a lot of downs, a lot of challenges for having played such an incredibly tough schedule with 35 quad one opponents, you know, but when all is said and done, the goal is to get to the NCAA tournament and get yourself 5 wins from Omaha, and that's exactly where we are. So it's a new season. We're ready to get going. Yeah.
I mean, Chris and I were talking off air. I don't think anybody else in the country played a game against each of the top 7 national seeds. If somebody else did, I mean, we haven't researched it, but I got to believe that list would be very small. You played a game, at least one, against each of the top 7 national seeds.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. I've never seen anything like it. I've never been a part of anything like it. I hope in future seasons, I hope we play good opponents, but I'd be fine if we don't have to play the top 7 as many games as we did, because it becomes quite grueling along the way. But again, and what I hope ends up happening is that we are now the most battle-tested team in the country, and as we now start the NCAA tournament, I'm hoping that it really pays off for us.
Absolutely. You know, you went 8-8 against the top 5 national seeds, 8-8 against the top 5 national seeds, Tennessee, Kentucky, A&M, North Carolina, Arkansas, which means, and you've said this, and you said it in Hoover, any given night, you can beat any of the best teams in the country.
Yeah, there's no question about it. You know, and we've also means you can lose to those teams as well. But
True.
When the best of the best square off, you know, it's going to be about a 50-50 proposition. That's why the best play the best, because you can win it or you can lose it. And we've going 500 against those top teams in the country. I think that means that we're one of the best as well. And I hope we go out and prove it next week. So
you went to Hoover SEC tournament, and I really think you became the darlings of the tournament, and Messina became the hero of the tournament. How he didn't get the MVP of the tournament or most outstanding player, whatever, is beyond me, I guess, because, you know, Tennessee won it and they gave it to a very fine player there. But how you overlook a guy who hit over 500 with 16 RBIs, 4 home runs, and a terrific on-base percentage is beyond me. But you get to the semifinals, you lose a heartbreaker to LSU, but you got momentum now. I mean, do you sense this team has got a ton of momentum going into regional play?
Yeah, I think so. And, you know, again, momentum in baseball is still your next starting pitcher. Jim Leland said that for years. So we need to build on it. We need to make sure we play with the same emotion and passion that we did last week, because it was a lot of fun to be in that dugout. Because it felt like every inning we could have a big inning, and it felt like most of our pitchers were going out there and doing a good job. Obviously, the elephant in the room is that our infield defense was just not up to snuff, and we've got to correct that, and I think we will. And we were a good defense for the great majority of the year, but that reared its ugly head in Hoover. And had we played just our normal defense, I mean, we might have won the whole thing. So got to shore that up, but I think when it comes to momentum, we hit really well, scored a lot of runs, and I hope that continues.
USC head baseball coach Mark Kingston with us here tonight on Sports Talk. Gamecocks the number 2 seed in the Raleigh Regional, and they will square off on Friday against James Madison out of the Sun Belt. And, Coach, speaking of the errors, 12 errors, just really, I'm sure you're hoping, and most Gamecock fans are hoping, that was an anomaly and certainly not a thing, harbinger of things to come. How do you describe it? Because your team had played much better defense, going into a harder infield, different playing surface. What do you think may have led to some of those infield errors?
It was a very fast surface, and we don't normally play on fields that are having to deal with 4 games a day. And, their grounds crew does a great job, and it's a great facility, but it's really hard to think that you're going to have a field in Founders Park condition when there's 4 games a day, when it's extremely hot and dry. It just lends itself to being a little bit more challenging, and it's not an excuse. You got to make the plays, and other teams made all the plays that were there that they needed to make. We just didn't make the plays like we normally do. And you used the word anomaly. I think it was an anomaly, and I hope we play better defense this weekend, because if we do, like I said, the other areas of our game were very good.
Speaking of that, do you have an update on Gavin Casas and maybe his availability for you this weekend?
Yeah, it's not looking great. He's got an appointment in the morning with a specialist just to see if there's anything we can do. I'm not overly optimistic that he'll be available, and that's a big blow for us. Obviously, he had become one of our better hitters over the last month, I would say, and had kind of shored up that position over there. So it is a blow for us, and we're going to have to overcome it. And it's going to have to be next man up, and we're going to have to get good production, and both offensively and defensively at the third base spot in his absence.
What do you know about James Madison, the team you'll open up the regional with? They've got, it appears, a pretty good power hitter in Fenwick Trimble, a guy batting .371 on the season. But aside from him, what do you know about their club?
Yeah, they've got some power. They've hit over 80 homers. They steal a lot of bases. They stole over 100 bases. So they like to be aggressive. They bunt and run a lot. So it'll be a challenging offense to go against. Pitching wise, their ERA is about a 6, and I know their top 2 starters are left-handed pitchers, so I'm anticipating we'll see a lefty in the game we play them. So that's kind of have surface knowledge on them right now. My assistants are really digging in to the details right now in terms of Matt Williams, our pitching coach, watching their hitters, and Monty looking at defensive positioning we're going to need to do, and Mike Current looking at how to attack their pitchers. So guys are all kind of taking different angles, and I'm looking at kind of the view from 20,000 feet. At this point, any team that gets in the NCAA tournament is dangerous. That's why the term Cinderella was brought into the NCAA basketball tournament. So you gotta make sure you're prepared and you're ready to go.
What are your plans with third base, since you pulled Talmadge LeCroy in the game the other day, and you put Ellis in there? What are you thinking about third base as you go into this regional?
Well, we're gonna work out. We're gonna work out LeCroy there. We're gonna work out Ellis there. We're gonna work out Tyler Causey there, and then we'll make the decision based on who we feel will give us the best chance to win on Friday. Obviously, LeCroy has a lot of experience there, and has played a lot of games there, and helped us get to a super regional last year playing there. So, he's more than capable of doing it. He has done it, but it just has been in a little bit of a funk, and we need to help him get out of it.
Yeah. All right, last thing, we'll let you go. Of course, one of the big stories in the entire country was what happened in the 10th inning of the LSU game. Can you take us into your dugout at that moment? Because we don't know this. Like, who did you notice it yourself? Did one of your assistants bring it to your attention? Because you made the obviously proper decision to ask the umpires to review what was going on. How did that start inside your dugout?
Yeah, there were multiple people that kind of noticed it was a little off. L.T. Tolbert, our first base coach, our former shortstop, confirmed that he had not stepped off the rubber, which was a key element of that play. Cole Messina confirmed it from his vantage point. We could tell from the dugout that the catcher had gone out in front of home plate. And so there were a lot of different views. It was almost like the Zapruder film from JFK. A lot of different angles of people trying to figure out how do we put all this together. So finally, I just went out there and I said, hey, I'm going to go have a talk with the umpire. And it's not a reviewable play, but the key was we convinced him to go talk with the other guys and confirm that, because at the time I think the home plate umpire assumed he had stepped off, or else he would have called something. Mm-hmm. And so I just wanted him to confirm with the other umpires that what they saw was that he had not stepped off, which made it an illegal play. So long story short, a lot of different people saw different things, and we put it all together, and then we went out there and asked for the umpires to confer. They did, and it went in our favor. So, it takes a village, as they say, and a lot of people contributing in different ways.
Well, I tell you what, that was a very smart move on your part because
No doubt.
it was doomsday for you at that particular time until that happened. We
And
thank
Coach,
you.
there are people that would tell you the Zapruder film has been altered, so just keep that in mind if you ever want to use that reference again.
Well, we can have some conspiracy talk on a different day. How about that?
Hey, we thank you as always. Appreciate the time. I know it's been a long day, but a good day, and we look forward to being there in Raleigh to cover you guys and see how things turn out. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Yes, sir. Thank you. And one thing Coach Kingston told us today when he spoke with the media, he was asked the question, some umpire had to step up in that group and say, yeah, I saw that. I saw that his leg was on the plate or he was in front of the plate and the pitcher was on the rubber. Why didn't that umpire say something right then and there? Why did it require a conference to take place? Can the umpires out in the field not step up and say, hey, I got something here? Be back in a moment.
Relax this summer with a promotional rate on select travel purchases with your Founders Federal Credit Union credit card. Now through August 31st, get 6.99% APR for 6 months on qualifying purchases, including airfare, hotels, restaurants, and cruise lines. Don't let interest rates slow you down this summer. Visit foundersfcu.com/travel to learn more. Not a Founders member yet? Founders has the financial tools you need and the personalized service you deserve. Stop by an office or visit foundersfcu.com to learn more about Founders and see if you qualify for membership. On March 1st, 2025, the promotional APR will revert to the effective APR as previously disclosed. Call 800-845-1644 for details about credit costs and terms. Membership qualification required.
Great things don't happen all at once. Big dreams take time. And when it comes to saving for college, it's those small steps that make a difference. I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 5-9 college savings plan, is designed to be taken step by step. You can start with any amount, contributions are tax deductible, and earnings grow tax-free. So why wait? Discover the smart, easy way to save for college at futurescholar.com.
The South Carolina Education Lottery has a new rolling jackpot, and trust me, our state hasn't seen anything this big before.
How big? Harbortown Lighthouse big?
Bigger.
Bigger than the Ravenel Bridge?
Even bigger.
Not bigger than Table Rock.
With this new rolling jackpot, Palmetto Cash 5 is officially too big to ignore. Palmetto Cash 5 draws nightly, so play today. Check if your numbers are winners in the Players Club app or at seeducationlottery.com. Overall odds are 1 in 10. Top prize odds are 1 in 850,668.
My daddy served in the army. We lost his right eye, but he flew a flag out in our yard. Till the day that he died, he wanted my mother, my brother, my sister, and me to grow up and live happy in the land of the free. Now this nation that I love is falling under attack. A mighty sucker punch came flying in from somewhere in the back. Soon as we could see clearly through our big black eye, man, we lit up your world like the 4th of July.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Memorial Day 2024. Here on Sports Talk, we're live, as we are every Memorial Day. Great to have you with us. Hopefully we're providing a little something extra on your day because it's a big day. It's baseball selection day. And 4 South Carolina teams are headed to the NCAA baseball tournament. We've heard from Gary Gilmore. We've heard from Coach Mark Kingston. 7:05, we'll hear from Clemson coach Eric Bakich. And sandwich in between all of that, and I have to apologize because we here at Sports Talk, and I take the responsibility, did a very poor job by not having Coach J.J. Edwards from Wofford on with us earlier. So up front, I apologize for that, but then I back that up by saying congratulations and better late than never. Good time to have you on because you're going to the NCAA tournament, Coach. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
How's it feel to you?
I'm going to be honest. We played so many games in so little of time that I think it is finally setting in. I felt like we were at Ford Field in Greenville it felt like 2 months, but it was only 5 days, but we played 7 games. So it is slowly setting in. I think the amount of text messages and phone calls and emails of the baseball community and players that you coached and fans that have reached out is like, that is kind of setting in the most, is so many people reaching out and congratulating us.
You guys had to do it the hard way. I mean, you had to come up through the losers bracket, and you had to beat Sanford twice yesterday, and you got it done. How exhausting was that for your staff and your players?
I think I was telling people, I was like, I think I am more exhausted than the guys were because they never faded. They never faded. We had a freshman catcher who caught all 7 games, and like he had a home run and a single in his last 2 at bats, and I was like, can he even run right now? And he's like, yeah, my glutes started going a little bit at the end. I go, yeah, you caught 7 games in 5 days. He's like, yeah, and I was like, he's like, but you weren't going to take me out. I go, nor was I going to. Yeah, I wasn't going to take you out at all. Like, you're one of our better players, but I think we were more exhausted from a mental standpoint, but those guys never faded at one point throughout those 5 days.
So, of course, you knew you were in, but when you saw your name go up on the billboard, the big board, you saw your name go up on the big board in the Chapel Hill Regional. How'd that feel to you this afternoon? What was going on inside your mind?
The excitement from years of hard work and this program being on the doorstep numerous times. I think that was the first thing of just pure excitement of like, yes, we finally did it. And then that probably lasted about 3 seconds. And then the mind of a coach started taking over going, okay, like, how do we have to prepare? How do we have to be ready for LSU? What happens if we win? What happens if we lose? How do we get there? So I'll give it 3 to 5 seconds of excitement. And then the rest of it was just planning of how we have to go about attacking these programs.
What about your team will impress people when you describe your group? What do you like most about them?
They are a resilient bunch, and I think, and you can look at numbers and do everything. We just play a little bit different of a style than most teams in the country. We run a lot, we'll bunt a lot. It's just a little bit different than most teams, just because that's how we had to build it at Wofford College when the academic standards are so high and the school enrollment's so low that it's not for everybody. So we had to build it a little bit different and run a very unique system to develop and win games.
J.J. Edwards, head baseball coach at Wofford College, our special guest here tonight on Sports Talk. Terriers finally have broken down the door for a Southern Conference championship since 2007, and once again another 40-win season for the Terriers. And Coach, I wanted to go back to your description of your baseball team. It sounds like you described the Kentucky Wildcats for fans who are of the SEC, probably understand how they play. They love to run the bases, love to play small ball. Where did that sort of mentality and where did your growth of the game and understanding of the game sort of lead you as a head coach to develop this style at Wofford?
Yeah, so the longer story to a shorter story was, when I first got to Wofford, it was 2012, and we weren't very good in the aspect of winning and losing. And all we tried to recruit was, we said, like, we want to recruit good players. And then you would just look up and you had just kind of like, I would say, not an island of misfit toys, but you just have a little bit of everything. And we decided that year to kind of to go a certain direction, and we ran the triple option forever at Wofford College. So we kind of used that as kind of the foundation piece of, hey, run something a little bit different so when people game plan you, they're game planning for something they don't see every weekend. And the speed component took over in that aspect. And we just started recruiting athleticism and speed, and that kind of took off. And now we've won a lot more games, and we've gotten better talent with the speed and the athleticism. And that's kind of how that baby was born, and we've kind of just ran with it since 2012.
Coach, how good a player, and his statistics sort of back this up, so it may be a silly question, but how good a player is Marshall Toole? And I ask that question because I look at a guy batting .383 that has 93 hits on the season, 10 triples on the year, but he's also walked 37 times, so he appears to be not only a very good hitter, but a patient one as well.
Yeah, so somebody was asking today about him, and his development has been remarkable. He has always had the ability to run, and that's kind of what attracted to us at the beginning. But he has really, really put in time to hone in his craft. Anybody who plays a summer in the Northwoods Collegiate League, which is roughly 175 games, jokingly, of course, but it feels that way. I think he walked out of that place with 260 at-bats after playing a summer up there. And anybody who goes up there and stays the whole time, you are going to develop, and you are going to figure out what your strength is. So he is he is a fantastic baseball player, but the growth seeing from his freshman year to now is just remarkable. And a couple of scouts came over. We were playing a midweek game against Charleston Southern, and they go, hey, and they look at the stats just like everybody else. Hey, what do you got on this kid? And I said, he's going to have the fastest time to first base. If he was in the Major League Baseball this year, he would have the fastest time to first base. And they look at you like, hey, yeah, everybody pumps their own players because that's what humans do. And I go, okay. And then 2 innings later, he ran a 3.44 on a bunt to first base. And they looked, and I go, I wasn't lying. And I think the fastest time in Major League Baseball last year was a 3.52 on a bunt. And he did a 3.44. And I was like, yeah, I told you. And he has started to put the ball in play a lot more. And when you start putting the ball in play a lot more, when you run that well, a lot more hits are going to happen.
Well, I guess this is a good thing because somebody's got to try and knock them off to begin the tournament, and you guys get that opportunity. You face the defending national champions in LSU. Clearly, I'm sure you know a good bit about them just reputation-wise, but how much have you been able to dig into the Tigers and figure out a way to attack them on Friday?
Yeah, so the good thing is with the way the internet works, I feel like their highlights are up every day on YouTube, so I get to watch them every time they play a game midweek or weekend. So I feel like I don't know if I'm a fan of LSU, as in like somebody who roots for them every day, but I watch a lot of their baseball games and a lot of highlights, so I feel like I've known a lot about them. But, geez, their talent is really, really good, and it seems like they're clicking at the right time, which you kind of want to do as you walk in the NCAA tournament. So talent-wise, you're not going to see a better program out there, especially coming off a championship in a program that's been here before. That's kind of the scary part.
Well, I got to believe when they look over your numbers, a 340 team batting average, which is number 3 in the country. You guys touched on your steals, 144 out of 163. Plus, you've been plunked 104 times. You've drawn 310 walks. I mean, your guys get on base. But I'm impressed by the hit by pitch. I mean, what do you tell your guys? Just stand in there and take it like a man? What do you tell them?
There's a crazy story to it. We used to teach it all the time, and we used to try to do like all these little tactics to how to coach it. We're going to get, little camp softballs that you use for like little kids camp, and anytime you pick it up in BP, you're going to drill a kid so they get comfortable. And we've done all these things. And to be honest with you, what worked the most was we started rewarding them for getting hit in the game. We gave them candy. We started giving them candy for getting hit in the game. And since that point, and if you look up at our stats, we started doing that 3 years ago. And as soon as we started giving them, we call them roll bags. So anytime it's like Tootsie Rolls, Roll-O's, fruit roll-ups, kind of punny on it. And as soon as we started doing that, and I've told like coaches, they're like, hey, how's it? And they look at you like you have 4 eyes. And I go, yeah, we might be creating diabetics out there giving them so much sugar, but it seems to be paying off in the long run here.
I tell you what, you're ranked in the top 30 nationally hit by pitch. I mean, highly ranked with your average and with your stolen bases. I mean, you got offensive weaponry. I guess you just have to hope you can handle that LSU pitching and make them sweat a little bit out there. If not, just go out and beat them.
Yeah, that is the game plan. I don't know how often we see the arms that are going to roll out, but we will be prepared as much as we possibly can, and hopefully our style plays well against it.
Well, we thank you for being with us. We know we'll talk to you again. Good luck. Congratulations again. What an honor for you and your program in your first year to get to the tournament, and have a great time in Chapel Hill, and thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Coach.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you very much. Yeah, you too, J.J. Edwards. I love his approach.
I like him.
Looked at the Wofford football team and saw how they did things differently, and they're doing the same thing. They are 7th in the country in stolen bases with 144. Number 3
Reminds
with
me
a
of
batting
Kentucky.
average of 340. Yeah, I guess. So I mean, if you're LSU, those numbers have got to get your attention.
There's no doubt.
So
all the pressure is going to be on LSU to open up the tournament.
Oh, absolutely. And you wonder if you're LSU. Like, they didn't throw Smith against the Gamecocks in their first meeting. I guess he pitched in the second game. No, I'm sorry. I'm getting confused with Arkansas.
Yeah, Arkansas.
Yeah. I'm getting confused with Arkansas. You wonder if LSU will throw their top guy against Wofford in that first game, not mess around with this thing. Okay, top of the hour break. Eric Bakich coming up. Be right back.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil and Chris with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It is Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media Network on this Memorial Day night, 2024. Of course, it's a big day in the sports world around here with the announcement of the Field of 64 for the NCAA baseball tournaments. And we've got 4 teams. We've heard from 3 of the coaches. We heard from Coach Gilmore. We heard from Coach Kingston. We heard from Coach Edwards. Now, we will hear from Clemson coach Eric Bakich. Second straight year he's got the Tigers as a national seed, a national top 8 seed. They'll be at home as a number 6 seed beginning on Friday, taking on High Point, the Big South champions of the tournament champions, I guess I should say, because Presbyterian was the regular season champion. So High Point won the tournament, advances to the regional, and face Clemson on Friday night. Coach Bakich joining us here on Sports Talk. First of all, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations. Another great season, another national seed, another home regional. How you feeling?
Well, hey, Phil, thanks for having me. Appreciate you having me on as always.
Yes, sir. How you feeling?
Fired up, baby. Dangerous. Let's go.
You feel dangerous, or your team is dangerous?
No, it's stole a line since it's Memorial Day. That's a line stolen from American Sniper movie. So,
yeah, very nice, nicely done.
Yep. So celebrating the great Chris Kyle and great movie.
Yes,
they always
it was.
say, "How you feeling?" Dangerous. So yeah, that's a good way to be.
But your team is dangerous in your eyes.
Of course, everybody is this time of year. You're down to the top 64. Everyone's dangerous.
You know, coming off the 2 games in Charlotte at the ACC tournament, how do you feel about the way you guys played there? Pitching was suspect at times, though I think after that Louisville jumped ahead of you, you kind of tightened it up. One thing that was not suspect, however, was your offense. If you're going to go deep in the NCAA tournament, do you kind of feel like the offense is just going to have to carry you?
Yeah, I mean, postseason baseball is pitching, defense, timely hitting. Every coach talks that way and says that phrase. Our bullpen was really good in Charlotte. Since you asked about it, it was bullpen did a great job. And then the offense, the offense has been very consistent. And yes, we will need them to. We will need to have a deep and consistent lineup. And then we'll need to pitch and defend at a high level as well. This is where, things narrow a little bit, and everybody is playing their best baseball, and you got teams coming off of dog piles, winning their conference championships and feeling good, and so it's a great challenge. And we're certainly up for it and looking forward to it.
I mean, one thing about your team, you've said it, you can see it with these guys. I mean, the 24 come from behind wins kind of speaks for itself. If you're going to beat Clemson, you're going to have to bury them. I mean, you almost pulled out that game. What day was it? I guess it was Thursday. I mean, you came within about a foot or two of pulling that game out of the fire. Then again, as a coach, I think you would like not to be in the fire so much. I mean, come from behind wins are great, but wouldn't you rather have start from ahead and go ahead and wins more of those rather than come from behind wins?
Phil, I really don't care how we win as long as we get the job done. But those, that's just how we do things, and it's become the identity of this team because we've done it so much. 24 times we've come from behind, and yeah, I think everyone knows this Clemson team is never out of the fight. And if we have to play from a deficit early or late, it really doesn't matter in the believability of this team. And ultimately, that is the superpower of this group. That is the it factor that we have. And it's better than anything that we have from a pitching, defense, and hitting standpoint. It's just that belief that we're going to come back and win, and we've been fortunate to do it a lot.
Yeah. the resolve of your players is really impressive. So you're looking at the tournament field being filled in and get your regional. You see Clemson number 1, then High Point. Okay, then Coastal Carolina. I'm sure that got kind of a reaction from everybody there. Gary Gilmore coming in. You guys are actually possibly going to get a chance to play after being rained out, twice this year, I believe. And then Vanderbilt, Tim Corbin and company coming in. Old friend of yours, of course. I guess coaching mate. You guys are all connected to Jack Leggett. I mean, the storylines are incredible in this particular regional with Hall of Fame coach coaching his last go-around, and then Tim Corbin coming back to Clemson.
Yeah, I mean, I got asked that earlier. I mean, the storylines are great for the coaches, but this is about the players. So the players don't have those storylines. They don't care who we're playing. So, I'm trying not to make it about the coaches. I've always tried to not make it about the coaches and just make it about the players. So, yeah, of course, Coach Corbin's, one of my best friends. Same with Coach Leggett. There's great storylines there. And Coach Gilmore, obviously, respect and admire the career that he's had, Hall of Fame career, and the program that he's built. But that has nothing to, our players don't think about that kind of stuff. They're just, so it's just going to be about execution and playing well and the right mindset for them.
Clemson head baseball coach Eric Mackich with us here tonight on Sports Talk. The Tigers, the number 6 national seed. They'll host the regional this weekend, beginning with High Point on Friday evening. And, Coach, back to a point that you made talking with Phil a few moments ago about the amount of comebacks, 24 on the season. I can probably guess your fan base would appreciate a few easier wins, but it's been fun to watch your team. Do you teach that, or is that recruitable? How do you get a team that never feels like it's out of a ball game?
I think both. Yeah, I think you use toughness, leadership, confidence. These are all traits that can be improved upon, and certainly everybody's born with different levels of each, and it depends on an upbringing. And so we spend a lot of time trying to get to know the parents and how they've raised their kids in the recruiting process. So there is some of it there, and it's always a benefit when the kid comes from a disciplined home and the parents have raised them in such a way. And then it's obviously trained. I mean, all those traits, those are character traits that can all be improved upon, even if, some kids start with a higher level and some kids start with a lower level. They certainly can all be improved upon. So that's, the believability, just the belief in general is something that is we train. We put it very much in our training environment from day one. It's just not something you can just flip the switch once the season starts, and it's got to be trained. It's got to be a high point of emphasis throughout the entire year. And then you need then the circumstances have to be right, because you need the opportunity to be able to do it in a game, and that's really where it's anchored in is, when you get the chance to do it and actually do it, and we've done it a lot. So it's just ingrained. It's part of our identity now. It's part of who we are. And of course, everyone would love to get a lead, keep a lead, establish a lead, and extend a lead. But it's not. This is college baseball in 2024. Everybody's really good. Everybody's old. Everyone's got weapons, and it just doesn't always go to script.
Said earlier today that Will Taylor still has his cast on following his wrist injury. Do you anticipate the possibility of him being available this weekend, or is that too quickly, assuming he even gets the cast off this week?
I have no idea. He probably not. He probably won't be available this weekend, but he does get the cast off this week, and then we'll see how he feels. And if it feels great, then yeah, maybe he is available this weekend. But we're not as of Monday, as of today, we're not expecting that he would be able to just get the cast off and all of a sudden play.
What kind of impact? Let's assume he could play this weekend. What kind of impact could he give your team?
I don't know. I mean, he's an impact player, so I mean, he would impact the game some way. I just don't think he'll be ready to just start, ripping swings when he's had a cast on for the last four or 5 weeks. So if he made an impact, what impact could he make? I don't know, maybe defensively or offensively on the bases, but I would call it doubtful at this point.
How is your pitching going into the weekend in terms of your starting rotation? Maybe not quite ready. If you are, that'd be great to find out. But what are you looking at in terms of your starting guys for Friday and then on into the weekend? And where do you see Aiden Pinnock? Possibly do you move him up a little bit in the rotation because he's pitched so well this season?
Yeah, he'd be a good candidate to move up in the rotation. We've got everyone available. I mean, that was the silver lining of only playing 2 games in Charlotte is, we've had plenty of our starters able to rest, and we've bullpen is rested, and guys will have their feet underneath them, their legs underneath them, their body's feeling good come Friday. So we'll probably announce our rotation later in the week, but we'll need the pitching staff to be at full strength and looking for quality starts out of the starters and bullpen guys to go in and put zeros up. So it's not a super complicated formula, but we're excited that everyone is going to be at full strength.
Yeah, I know you would have liked to continue during the week in Charlotte like you did last year when you won the tournament. So you know what it's like to play upwards of 4 games in the tournament, only 2 for you this time around. But is that in some way an advantage for you, the rest that you mentioned, compared to, say, some teams who had to go through like the grind of the SEC tournament where you could play, 6 or 7 games, I guess, maybe to get to a championship situation, and you've used up everybody that you've got in your bullpen. Like you pointed to, you guys are pretty well rested coming out of your ACC tournament. Is that in some way a benefit for you?
Well, nothing's better than winning a championship, so we'd prefer to just, win the championship, regardless of how many games that takes. But if you don't win the championship, then the next best thing is being able to have a fully rested team, especially, feeling good about the way it ended with a walk-off victory and, capturing that momentum and taking it into the week. It always feels better to win versus not. So I like where we're at. Of course we would have preferred to win the championship. We would have preferred if I like pool play a lot better last year than I did this year. This year I wish it was a double elimination tournament, but last year I was fine with pool play. But, all in all, we're feeling good. We're confident. We're excited to get back in action this Friday, and I look forward to the game with High Point.
All right, last thing, we'll let you go. Just looking at High Point, they have a pitcher, Gus Hughes, 104 strikeouts in 95 innings. So 6-4, the 3.86 is this their top guy from what you've been able to gather? Is this the guy that you might likely see on Friday evening?
I don't know. I saw those numbers too. He certainly looks very talented. He's low to mid 90s fastball with a good slider. So he's been pitching, I believe, on Fridays for them. So I don't know if that's who they'll throw or not. But this looks like a very good team. They've got, from my quick math, they've got 400 walks and hit by pitches combined, with a bunch of stolen bases and a decent amount of home runs, high amount of home runs. So this is a very, very complete team. They field 977, I think, if I remember the stats right. So with Gus Hughes, if that's who throws, he looks like a guy who could pitch anywhere. Very talented arm, and certainly looked very talented from a position player standpoint, a defensive standpoint, offensively. They've got multiple ways of being able to score via the stolen base or the home run. So we'll certainly have our work cut out for us. We're not going to overlook them and look to Vanderbilt or Coastal by any means. We're going to keep our eyes squarely on High Point because that's what's in front of us right now, and that's the most important game that we've got is the next one.
Well, we thank you for taking time out to be with us here on Sports Talk. Long, hard day for all you coaches having to wait for the assignments and get your team in order, and a lot of things have to go. A lot of moving parts around hosting regionals. I know not just preparing your team on a baseball field. So, thank you for being with us. Look forward to hearing from you later on this week, and good luck to you this weekend.
Thank you, Coach.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Phil. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate you having me.
Always. Thank you very much. Okay, there you go, Coach Eric Bakich, High Point. 34-25, 17-7 in the Big South. And, yeah, he was right on. Some of those numbers, combined hit by pitch and walks, 400 of them. And they will steal a base, 85 out of 103. I'm just still blown away by Wofford's numbers.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Those are almost like video game numbers that they have on their offensive end. We'll be back after the break.
Major Downer, let's say I'm out in the woods or I'm on the water and I need to reach a DNR agent. How do I do that?
Operation Game Thief, Phil. It's been around 30-plus years. You can call us at our 24-hour hotline any time of day, 1-800-922-5431. To report wildlife violations or to get help if you're in trouble in the woods or on the water, call us at Operation Game Thief, 1-800-922-5431.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I'm not a case manager. I'm a lawyer for over 35 years. I don't charge 40% for your injury in your wreck case or any on-the-job injury. Call 803-765-2968 and ask for Jim Corbett or email me, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com, for the experience of a lawyer handling your injury case. Jim Corbett, 803-765-2968. Jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. Put 35 years of experience to work on your injury case.
You've put in the work for your education. The extra early, extra late, extra work. That's because you understand education opens doors to better pay, better opportunities, and a better you. Being educated about playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. The lottery's a game, so let's keep it fun. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
George Bryant here with Tsunami Bar Sports, and wow, Tsunami Robbie, there is now an amazing technology that you can use when you train receiving large game without having to endure pain. Please explain.
George, that is the magic combination. I have 3 simple words to define that entire concept. Stimulation, not annihilation. Regardless of your training goals, there is a level of stimulation that is optimal for your desired gains. Tsunami Bar's flexible bar technology meets these demands because the user determines the level of stimulation with the amount of speed and force they impart into the bar or training device.
Hey, this is Phil Kornblut. The Tsunami Bar is a terrific training device, whether you're working on your fitness or your golf game. It's convenient, it's easy to use, and you won't feel beat up afterwards. Be sure to click on the digital ad on SportsTalkSC.com and get 5% off any order using promo code BBB5. Don't wait. Order today.
There was a knock on the door around 2 o'clock. 2 uniforms and her heart stopped. Yellow ribbon round an oak tree, blowing in the breeze. Here's to the ones that didn't make it back home. The ones we ain't seen in so long.
Memorial Day 2024 here on Sports Talk. Good to have you with us. Appreciate those who've been listening to us over our affiliates or online on our Facebook stream or X stream or on our website or, of course, on the app, the Chief Sports app. All those ways you can get us if you can't get us over one of our affiliates around the state. Appreciate you being with us. Coming up, Coach Jim Toman at the bottom of the hour, just a bit outside. He's going to break it all down. We've been talking about it. We've been hemming and hawing about what happened today with the selection committee. We'll get it straight from the man who pulls no punches when it comes to talking about these teams and what the committee did. He'll be joining us here at the bottom of the hour. A few other things to talk about besides the baseball world today. Of course, we had the passing of Bill Walton. This came as a shock to me. I did not realize that he was in that kind of situation from a health standpoint, Chris. It blew me away when I saw the headline story that he had died.
Yeah, of cancer, too. Yeah, I had not had any idea that he was sick. And, Phil, you look back on his career, and I'm not sure many of us – I wasn't around when he was in his heyday at UCLA. I was just born. I guess his sophomore year at UCLA was, 1970 or 71, so I'd just been born. But you're talking about maybe one of the top 2 greatest all-time collegiate players. I mean, it'd be hard-pressed to find anybody who had much better career, with the exception of, say, Lou Alcindor at the time. Outside of him, those 2 guys at UCLA, I don't know that anybody had a better collegiate career than Bill Walton. A couple of national championships, won a few NBA titles, and then I think most people now recognize him more for his bombastic personality on television. Yeah, he's going to be a big miss, and it's kind of funny. If there is one person who waved the banner for the Pac-12 more than Bill Walton, I don't know who it is.
Yep.
And maybe it's somewhat appropriate that as the Pac-12 goes away, Bill doesn't have to see it disappear.
Yeah. He just seemed like the kind of guy you'd throw your arm around, go have a beer with, you know.
Exactly.
And I'm not sure he drank beer. I mean, I know he did some other things. He was, you know, he was a fan of the Weebie-Jeebie, I think, back in the day.
No doubt.
But he was his own man, his own personality, but a great basketball player.
I mean, you
even
saw
at
him
the
play.
end,
Am I right? I mean, with his collegiate and NBA
I
career?
remember, in particular, he had one of the greatest individual performances in the history of the NCAA tournament. I think it was 21 of 22. Made field goals. They beat Memphis. He scored 44 points. I mean, he was he was the king of the bank shot. He had an interesting looking jump shot where he looked like he got his hands like right in front of his face with the ball, you know, right in front of his face. One hand underneath the ball, one hand behind the ball. That was his jump shot. Of course, he developed a hook and other big man moves. But, man, the bank shot was a key weapon for him. And Memphis had a great team that particular year, obviously. And they had a very talented big man whose name escapes me. I want to say Larry Keenan. I think it was Larry Keenan. And they just ate him up, 21 out of 22. Then he goes to the pros, of course, and wins a championship in Portland, has all kind of trouble with his feet. Resurfaces with the Celtics, won a championship with the Celtics as a valuable backup to Robert Parrish. They loved him in Boston. They just flat out loved him in Boston. So very sad. Then the Ronald Acuna injury for the Braves. I mean, that was terrible as he's torn his ACL, the other ACL. Now he's torn both ACLs. And the Braves go out and lose today 8-4. So
it may not be their year with Strider's injury and Acuna's injury. At some point in time, you're going to get to a point you can't overcome losses to that magnitude. I mean, we're talking frontline superstars for them.
No question. Cincinnati beat St. Louis 3-1. Colorado over Cleveland 8-6. Milwaukee beat the Cubs 5-1. Toronto over the White Sox 5-1. Minnesota beat Kansas City 6-5. Baltimore all over Boston 11-3. Let's go to Gamecock Larry. We promised him some time if he would call us back, and he has. Gamecock Larry, happy Memorial Day to you, sir, and welcome in.
Well, thank you, Phil. First, I want to wish all my fellow vets out there, I hope you had a blessed Memorial Day. But I'm going to talk about Gamecock. Man, I tell you what, we won 3 games, lost 2, 12 errors, and about 15 or 20 unearned runs. But that's all right. But I don't know what happened. I'm not blaming the umpire, but I'm going to say one thing about that umpire Thursday night. There was no corner, inside corner, outside corner, nothing like that. But if he's an umpire, I'm a jet pilot. Boy, I tell you what, man, I don't think he knew anything about baseball. And that other play when they give us that interference call and give us a run, I was listening to it on the radio, and they got the call from Hoover. They got the call, and it was 8 minutes before the umpires agreed with them. Umpires tried to give LSU the win. They tried to give LSU the win Sunday against Tennessee. They favored LSU. I watched the whole tournament. The umpires favored LSU. I don't know what LSU paid them, but I'm going to tell you, they would favor LSU. And them 2 guys that got called out on that swung and struck out Sunday afternoon, if they wouldn't have swung at those pitches, they'd have walked, because the umpires was not calling any strikes against the LSU players Sunday afternoon.
All right, Larry. Thank you for the umpire analysis. We got to hit the break. We'll be back.
Just a bit outside. He tried the corner and missed.
Nobody brings you better baseball coverage on Selection Monday than Sports Talk. We have heard from all 4 coaches taking their teams into the postseason. Let's recap. Coach Gilmore, Coach Kingston, Coach Edwards, and Coach Bakich. And now, to put a bow on it all, we welcome a man who's been there, done that. Dogpiled in Omaha. That's right, dogpiled in Omaha. We welcome in Coach Jim Toman, just a bit outside. Welcome in, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great, Phil. Big day in college baseball. A lot of happy people, a lot of sad people, a lot of stories. We need to get into this. I'm sure you guys have talked about an awful lot of it. I'll give you my 2 cents, and then maybe we can ask you some questions later. How about that?
We can chop it up, as they say. Fire away.
Let's go. The whole year I've had Clemson at the top of the list, and for good reason. They were the only team hosting in the state this year. I think they got the number maybe 7 national seed.
6.
And going to Clemson as the 2 seed is Tim Corbin and Vandy. That'll be a little homecoming for Tim Corbin. And the 3 seed is Gary Gilmore, which I'm very happy for Gary to get into the tournament here in his last go-around. And wouldn't be surprised to see them make a run at it because they can hit. And the Clemson Stadium these days, them balls are flying a little bit. And then the number 4 seed, as you know, is High Point, and they won the Big South. I was a little surprised that that Big South tournament was only 4 teams. But anyway, High Point won it, and Clemson's hosting the regional now for, your listeners that don't understand what a top 16 seed is or a top 8 seed. I mean, the 16 host sites are 1 through 16, and Clemson's a host site. But if you're in the top 8, that just means if you win your regional, that you'll also host a super regional. So that was big for Clemson. It's a big advantage to play at home. I believe in the history there's been like 70 or 75% of the home teams win regionals. So Clemson hasn't won one in a while. They have not been to Omaha in 12, 13 years. Be a good time for them to get going. But I like that regional right there because it's got the former Clemson coach and Tim Corbin coached with Jack Leggett, and Jack Leggett's in the dugout with Coach Bakich now at Clemson, and it's going to be. And then you got Coach Gilmore, a Hall of Famer. I mean, that's got a lot of really good coaches in that regional. So good to see that Gary Gilmore got in. South Carolina, they did what they needed to do in the SEC tournament. Boy, they had 2 one-run losses, I think, to LSU. They had a good run. I think they won 3 games there, and that solidified their position as they're going to get a bid. And I figured it would be a second seed, and they ended up getting a 2 seed and traveling up to NC State, where Coach Toman used to play and coach. And that place gave Coach Toman, believe it or not, 2 degrees. That place will give anyone degrees. But in that regional will be NC State as the 1 seed. The Gamecocks are the 2 seed. Little surprising that JMU got in as the 3 seed, and then Bryant was the 4th seed, and they got the automatic bid because they won their conference. But when we're talking about South Carolina this past week, at the SEC tournament, you have to talk about Funky Cole Messina, the catcher from the University of South Carolina. I'm sure you've said something about it already today, but he set a record for RBIs with 16 in the history of the SEC tournament. That's pretty dang big. He was on base, 680 on base percentage, 9 for 16, 9 runs, 4 home runs, 8 walks. So basically, sometimes if you simplify baseball and your All-Americans start to hit, guess what? You score runs and you win. Earlier in the year, Messina and Petrie weren't hitting that well. They start hitting, and all of a sudden the Gamecocks show some life at the end of the year after losing their final 6 games in the regular season. And them two guys start hitting, and all of a sudden, they have some life left in them. So it'll be fun watching that. The Wolfpack is, it gave me 2 degrees, and South Carolina's a 2 seed. But that, it's a nice regional. It's not the hardest regional in the country. I'd love to go to it, but I think I got to drive up to Pittsburgh and eat some of that Pittsburgh pizza and visit Buffo, the world's strongest clown. That's my brother up there, and I'm going to a little reunion for football up there.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, that's my brother. Look him up, Buffo, the world's strongest clown.
Okay. I'm not surprised. I'm sure. Not surprised you're related.
There you go. And at one point he had bigger arms than me, but he doesn't have them anymore. He's a little bit older.
Yeah.
And on my sheet here, I had, I kind of put how teams are doing in order, and I have Charleston as the 3rd team in the state. And meanwhile, unfortunately, they didn't get in. They lost to UNC Wilmington in the CA championship game. I think they lost 6-4. They had won the regular season 21-5. Them and UNCW were head-and-head all year long and both very consistent. And obviously, I'm a University of South Carolina. I'm a South Carolina guy. I want to see as many programs in the state do well. But, I thought Charleston was in. I even had 1, 2, 3, 4 next to their name, and I thought they were going to get in as a 3 seed, and it didn't happen. I think they were one of the first 4 out. The RPI was okay at 42. They ended up 41-14. I think, the committee can look at a lot of different things, and the only thing they can get Charleston on is their non-conference schedule was 177, and they only won 3 or 4 quad 1 games. But other than that, you're talking about 41-14. They won like 25 of their last 30 games or something. They were hot at the end.
No, 23-5. They went 23-5 last half of the season.
Yeah, and then the RPI is 42. I think the committee just ran out of teams to put in. There was 3 or 4 in there that I didn't think were getting in, and for one reason or not, they thought that them other teams deserved to be over Charleston. I feel bad. I worked for a year with Chad, and he was awful nice to me, and their pitching coach, Will Dorton, really good pitching coach. So I feel bad for them guys. Hopefully, them players there will just play with a chip on their shoulder next year and win the conference. And, when you put it up to a committee and sometimes they haven't seen you play a whole lot, things like that happen. I had 3 40-win teams at Liberty, and we only got 1 at large bid out of that. And we didn't get the chance. It's not day in and day out that you're playing top 25 schools like in the SEC, so you get that built-in good strength of schedule. In these mid-majors, your strength of schedule usually isn't that good. But anyway, I would leave that on a positive note that Chad Holbrook had a great year. Charleston had a great year. I mean, you're going to sign for 41-14 and winning the regular season 21-5 record. They have nothing to hang their head about. Got Wofford up here because they won their tourney. They're a 3 seed. They're going to Chapel Hill in that tournament. UNC is the 1 seed. They'll play Long Island, and Wofford gets a chance in the first round to make a name for themselves because they get to play LSU, I believe. I think that's how it works.
Yes, sir.
LSU was struggling early in the year, and they got hot late, and old Tommy Tanks. I wish they would have sent them guys to the NC State Regional. That would have been fun to watch them play them. But great season for Wofford. They won the Southern Tourney. They only had like 1 quad 1 wins, and their non-conference schedule was 224. But in them tournaments, all you have to do is win the tournament, and you get that. He's automatic qualifiers, and they beat Samford who was 36-23 this year. So they're Wofford has over 40 wins, 46 in the RPI, 3 seed, and they get to go up to Chapel Hill. As we talked about, Coastal is in 36 RPI, 34-23. They're in a tough regional. I think Clemson, High Point, Coastal, and Vandy. It's a pretty darn good regional for me. I didn't think they were going to quite get in because I was worried about their finish in the Sun Belt. But they did just enough to get in. Their RPI is nice at 36. And, I'm good friends with Gary Gilmore, so I want to see him do great. And I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't make a run for Gary Gilmore there at Clemson. So they're the underdog there, but watch them as the dark horse. That could be a surprise. USC Upstate finished their season 36-24. They did beat Charleston Southern and Presbyterian in the Big South tournament, but they lost twice to High Point, and High Point ended up getting the automatic bid. But USC Upstate ended up with 36 wins. A nice year for them. You look at Charleston Southern, RPI 195. They were 12-12 in the conference. They ended up the year losing to High Point and USC Upstate in the tourney, and the RPI finished at 195. The Citadel ended up 3-18 Southern Conference play, 231 RPI. So it was a rough year for the Citadel. Coach School has had a long career at East Tennessee State and Citadel. He stepped down. That job is open currently in the Citadel. I'm sure they'll find another good coach to coach over there. Winthrop, as we told you last week, their season was over last week, and Tom Reginas, another good friend, stepped down. I wouldn't doubt that he wouldn't go out and get another job because he's not that old. But the season didn't go as planned. 19-29-1. They're only 8-15 in the league, and their RPI was 240. And then PC last week was good news where they won the regular season in the Big South. So congratulations to Coach Pollock, but they lost to Charleston Southern and Upstate in the Big South tournament. They finished 29-27. RPI ended up being high, so their season is over. So notes, I'd like to say congratulations on Coach Hucks over there. I don't know who else won in the state at South Carolina, but I know Coach Hucks, so I wanted to give a shout-out to him at Lexington. They seem to always win, and he's former Gamecock guy. Good catcher. I always like catchers that are coaches because Norm Toman used to be a catcher one day. But anyway, state champs for Coach Hucks at Lexington. So that's about it. That's what I have. I don't know what you guys have been talking about other than I'm sure you've talked about Charleston not getting in and a couple other teams that might have should have got in, but it's going to be a lot of good baseball all over the country happening on Friday.
Absolutely. And I misspoke at the outset. I need to correct. You did not dogpile in Omaha with the Gamecocks. You were already gone back by then. I had to go back and check my numbers. But you did dog.
Yeah, I didn't dogpile anyway. If I did, I would have smothered someone out there. But we lost in the national championship game. We went 3 years in a row when I was there in 2002, 3, and 4. And in 2002, we lost to Augie Garrido in Texas. And then the next 2 years, we went there, but we lost. And then the guys that won it all with Coach Tanner, I helped recruit a lot of them guys, but I didn't get to go out there with them. But I kind of felt part of it. In fact, Coach Tanner sent me a ring for that first one.
There you go.
Because I had signed a lot of their guys.
Well, and back when y'all
not only I was a recruiting guru like you still are. Now you're more of a football recruiting guru, and some people said at one point I was a recruiting guru, but I think that's a title reserved for Phil Kornblut.
I'll pass that on to somebody else these days. But back then, of course, it was a one-game showdown for the national championship when y'all played Texas that time. It wasn't It wasn't the best 2 out of 3.
Yeah, that was the first year. That was the last year that they had a 1-game deal, and now they have best 2 out of 3. So it would have been interesting if we had a chance to play a couple more games, and maybe we would have won it. But they beat us. We had a chance in about the 7th, 8th inning. I think I got Steve Pierce thrown out at the plate, and then we gave up a 4 spot, and they ended up beating us pretty good. But
as I recall, they had a guy named Street coming out of the bullpen, did they not? Who was pretty darn good.
Yeah, he was okay. Yeah, he was. I think he was the best pitcher in the country that year.
Yeah.
And then pitching in the big league. So yeah, it was hard to hit him.
Yeah, it was.
Sure, and they brought him in that game too.
All right, listen. We got about a minute. Honest question, honest answer here. Can you, of the 4 teams in the state, in the tournament, can you see anybody getting to Omaha? Who do you think's got the best shot to get to Omaha of the 4, in your opinion?
Well, Clemson. They've had the most consistent year. You don't know what exactly you're going to get out of South Carolina. They've been really good, and they've been not so good, okay? Their defense has been a little bit down. But I'll tell you what, with Messina getting hot and Petrie hitting the ball, they're dangerous offensively too. And then, Wofford's a good program, but they're in it with the big boys now. I don't see them getting by LSU and North Carolina. And then, Coastal Carolina, I don't think they're done because that ball flies a little bit at Clemson. And if they get hot, you never know with Jerry Gilmore coach team. And they got a lot to play for. It's his last year go around, and they're going to want to do it for the old ballpark or old ball coach. So, but you got to go with the odds are that if anyone's going to get to Omaha, the one that should have the best route is Clemson because they're hosting.
Yeah,
and they'll host the Super Regional as well.
And they'll
but
get
they
the winner.
They got to play well.
If they get
I've seen a lot of strange things happen.
Yeah, whoever comes out of that regional get the regional winner out of Oklahoma State. If it's Clemson, they'll host in a super regional. All right, Coach. Great stuff as always.
Wait a minute. I have to ask. I have to ask, Coach, before we turn him loose.
Sorry.
I found an article from several years ago about your brother. When did Tom start learning to juggle chainsaws?
Yeah, well, how about this? Buffalo the Clown, his name was Tommy Toman, 6th-round draft pick out of high school by the Chicago White Sox, left center fielder, really good athlete. Like my son Tucker, he signed and he didn't go to college. He went straight into pro ball, and he played 6 years. He got married on the Houston Astros minor league park to his high school teacher after 6 years.
Whoa!
And
He married his high school teacher. He married his high school teacher.
6 years after playing pro ball, they got married in his Houston Astros uniform on the field. He was still playing minor league baseball, but he was a little older.
But wait a second, you just said he married his high school teacher.
Yeah, well, she taught him math, and 6 years later they got married.
That just sounds kind of weird to me. I'm sorry, I don't know that I'd marry any of my high school teachers.
Well, I know, but it isn't like he married her when he was 18. He was 24.
But she was like what?
Anyway.
40? All right, go ahead.
Well, she looked pretty good. She was about 35. But anyway, I'm going to visit Buffalo right now, and we go up there. We dress up like pilgrims and Indians in a teepee at his house, so he's a little bit different.
Yeah.
But when he was playing baseball, all of a sudden everyone thought he looked like an Indian, and meanwhile we're Italian. And he built a teepee, and he started doing these crazy things with Indians. And all of a sudden, he started working at the school for the blind. Then he started doing birthday parties. And the guy ended up at the White House. He can juggle 8 balls. He rips phone books in half. He tried to set the Guinness Book World Record with the lead bowling balls, but they kept hitting his feet. So he decided not to do that.
Oof.
He walked on stilts, skilts. I mean, the guy was crazy, but he was the number one. I'm talking he went to the White House to work, and he did some adult parties and a lot of children parties. So he is he had a lot of talent. Put it that way.
Amazing.
But yeah, he's semi-retired now. I'm getting ready to go up there and say hello to him, and he's still married to his beautiful wife Nancy, same teacher. But I got a lot of good stories in my family. Hey,
I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
I'm sure you do. Yeah.
Some famous people in this family.
All right.
Anyway.
Well, listen, I'm going to be in Raleigh this week, so I'll be looking for anything related to your career, around campus. So.
You know what? I'm probably on the board there. I donated something to them, so I'm probably up on one of them walls, my plaque or something. But you can find a lot of things out about me if you go to Emilio's Italian restaurant.
I'm going. That's where I'm going. Emilio's. Okay, I was looking. That's going to be one of my stops. Emilio's Italian restaurant. That sounds like a winner.
Emilio. Hey, and there's a good hot dog place called Clues Coney Island up there. Pretty darn good.
Why don't you come back for the regional? We'll watch it together.
I wanted to, but I got this little reunion. I told these guys I'd go, and I want to go up to see Buffo the Clown and his wife, and I got to see my parents' gravesite and say hello to them. And then I got to drive to Florida and see my son Tucker play, and then I got to go to Mississippi and see the Italian part of the family for alumni. Could run into a few mafia people there, so I got to better watch myself on that. But I'm gonna be driving around a lot. In the meantime, I'm looking for a job. So if there's any jobs open, just let me know.
There's a few of them out there. Besides the ones here in the state, I saw where I think Youngstown State came open, and I think the Dirtbags job came open out in California. And
I saw that.
Yeah, there's some jobs open out there. So
there's a lot open. UNCG might be open. Houston Christian, Missouri State, Minnesota, Florida Southern, the Citadel, Winthrop, Pacific, South Florida, Francis Marion. The big guy's bound to get one of them.
I think the big guy's been doing some research. I think you've been doing.
You got that right.
Been doing some. Well, you always got a job here on Sports Talk, okay?
I researched for your show.
Yep.
And I researched for college baseball jobs open for the big guys.
There you go. Well, you got a job here. I mean, it doesn't pay like those baseball jobs pay, but you still got a job here.
Yeah, but I enjoy it. I enjoy talking with you guys. So.
Oh, we love it. We love it. And we'll talk to you.
You enjoy.
We will talk to you next Monday.
All right, buddy.
Take care. Safe travels. Safe travels. Okay. Thank you. Coach Jim Toman I should say way outside.
That's a great story about his brother.
I did not know that.
I found a story from 2017. His brother used to juggle bowling balls, hatchets, meat cleavers, and chainsaws.
Oh, my gosh. Now, with the chainsaws running? With the chainsaws running?
If a guy eats fire, my guess is yes.
Oh, my gosh. What a story. What a story. Okay, just to recap, the game times for Friday are as follows. Coastal Vandy will be a noon start. Clemson High Point will be a 7 start. USC James Madison will be a 2 o'clock start. And Wofford LSU, that will be a noon start. Chris will be at Clemson there with Coastal Carolina with their broadcast and also covering Clemson. Thus, I will be in Raleigh covering the Gamecocks. There will be press conferences on Thursday, so we'll have those covered for you as well. Tomorrow night, get back to a little bit normal programming. We didn't talk about Charlotte racing. The 600 got reduced to the Charlotte, 400 and something miles? It's still a pretty good race.
Some odd lap, 269, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah, about 100 and something to go. Indy was a great finish. My goodness, what a race that was.
Yeah, but it's IndyCar.
Yeah, I love IndyCar. I mean, I only watch it. I watch it like
the
once.
Only one.
I watch it about once a year.
You and me both.
Indy is such a traditional. It's like watching the Kentucky Derby. I don't watch horse racing, but I watch the Kentucky Derby. I don't watch IndyCar racing, but I watch the Indy 500 because I'm always amazed at the pit stops. How these guys pull into a pit and they go up on the jacks, the hydraulic jacks. They got a tire changer for all 4 tires and a gas man, and they get it all done in about 7 or 8 seconds. The other thing that amazes me is no matter where they are on the track, when there's an accident, their safety people are there within seconds. You see the truck pull up practically before the car has come to a stop. That's how quick they are getting there. Anyway, Josh Harris will be with us to talk racing tomorrow night, and we should have some more good stuff on baseball. Thank you, Chris.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.